Phil Mickelson's lawyer went on record saying there is video evidence. The club confirmed there are no cameras in that area. That gap is where the scandal lives. And it is only the beginning of why the PGA Tour is in chaos right now. Mickelson pulled off a fairway mid-round, defamation attorney retained within days. Sheriff's office investigation opened. Resignation announced through a spokesperson. Not a single one of those moves was made by Lefty himself. That matters because for 30 years, Phil Mickelson built his entire brand on being the one guy in professional golf who showed up to every gallery, signed every autograph, and talked to every camera. The man was his own PR machine. Now his lawyer is doing the talking. And the one piece of evidence his legal team exposed as proof of the truth, the video that would end this story immediately, does not exist according to the very club that conducted the investigation. It gets much worse than a country club membership. Drop your read below. I genuinely want to know your first reaction when you heard the lawyer's claim. Now let us talk about what that gap actually means. The gap the intro pointed to is not a legal technicality. It is a window into how Phil Mickelson has always operated and why, for the first time in 30 years, the strategy is not working. To understand what is happening right now, you have to go back to 2021, not to dig up context, to understand exactly how high the peak was before the fall started. May 23rd, 2021, Kiowa Island, the ocean course, Phil Mickelson standing over a putt on the 72nd hole of the PGA Championship, needing it to win. He was 50 years old. Julius Boros had held the record for oldest major champion since 1968, 48 years old when he won the 1968 U.S. Open. Mickelson was about to shatter it. When that putt dropped, the roar from the crowd was not just for a golf shot. It was for something that felt genuinely impossible. The oldest player ever to win a major. At a course that demands distance, nerve, and physical endurance, Phil outplayed a full field of players half his age. In that moment, Phil Mickelson was not just the most beloved golfer in the world, he was the story of the sport. Every broadcaster, every analyst, every fan online, all of them pointing at the same man. His reported contract with LIV Golf would later be valued at $200 million. Sponsors were lining up. A Ryder Cup captaincy felt inevitable. The man who had spent 30 years being the friendly, accessible alternative to Tiger Woods had finally stepped out of that shadow entirely and claimed something Tiger never gave him, a story that belonged only to him. That version of Phil Mickelson is important, not as nostalgia, as contrast, because the way he built that brand tells you everything about why the current moment is so damaging. Phil Mickelson understood something early in his career that most tour players never figure out. Talent alone does not build a legacy. Talent builds a record. What builds a legacy is how fans feel about you when you are not on the course. He stayed after rounds when other players had long since left for the locker room. He remembered names. He talked to local media in cities that tour players typically ignored. Galleries treated him differently because he treated galleries differently. Where Tiger kept the world at arm's length as a deliberate strategy, Phil let everyone in. That was not accidental. That was constructed. And it worked for 3 decades. It worked through the 2016 SEC case when he was named a relief defendant in an insider trading scheme and agreed to repay nearly $1 million in profits without being criminally charged. It worked through whispers about his gambling. It worked through the occasional controversy on tour. Each time the brand absorbed the damage. Each time the warmth and the galleries and the autograph lines rebuilt the wall. The LIV move in 2022 was different, not because of the defection itself, because of what he said on the way out. In a recorded conversation with golf journalist Alan Shipnuck, Mickelson described the Saudi regime backing LIV Golf as scary motherfuckers, acknowledged they had killed Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi, acknowledged their record on human rights, and then said he was pursuing the deal anyway to gain leverage over the PGA Tour. That sequence of sentences, heard out loud in order, is one of the most Self-incriminating things a public figure has said on record in the history of professional sports. He knew what he was involved with, he said it out loud, and he did it anyway because the financial calculation outweighed everything else. Sponsors left within days, KPMG gone, Amstel Light gone, Callaway gone. The autograph lines and the gallery warmth did not protect him this time because those sponsors were not leaving over a golf decision. They were leaving because of what the words revealed about the man behind the brand. He went on Twitter and blocked fans, journalists, and young tour professionals who had commented on the fallout. Not responded, not addressed, blocked. The man who had built a career on accessibility chose silence and erasure when the pressure became real. Then Billy Walters published his autobiography in 2023. In it, Walters claimed Mickelson had placed bets totaling more than $1 billion over 30 years of professional golf. One single day in 2011, 43 separate bets on Major League Baseball, resulting in $143,500 in losses in a single afternoon. This was not a rumor. This was a published account from the man at the center of the SEC case that Mickelson had already settled. By early 2026, Mickelson had announced he was stepping away from competitive golf to deal with a private family health matter. He and his wife Amy needed time. He missed the opening LIV events. He withdrew from the Masters. He withdrew from the PGA Championship field. He played one event, LIV South Africa, in March, and finished tied for 48th. That was his only competitive round of the year. The Farms Golf Club sits about 25 miles northeast of San Diego in Rancho Santa Fe. It is a private club, the kind of place where Phil Mickelson was not performing for galleries or cameras. The Farms was where he went to actually play golf, away from all of that. Money matches with Xander Schauffele, private preparation for majors, the real version of the game he played when no one was watching. He had been a member for years. It was his home course in every meaningful sense. Earlier this spring, before any of this became public, a female employee at the Farms reported an incident to her supervisors. According to multiple sources who spoke to Golf Digest, Mickelson had approached her in the clubhouse and made non-consensual, inappropriate physical contact with her. She rejected the advance. She reported it while Mickelson was still on the course, completing his round. Club officials did not wait. They initiated an investigation immediately, located Mickelson mid-round, walked out to him on the fairway, and confronted him with the allegation. He was told to vacate the premises. He left the course before finishing his round. Take a moment with that image. The man who won at Kiowa Island in front of thousands of screaming fans in 2021. The oldest major champion in history, the most beloved people's champion the sport had produced in a generation, being walked off a private golf course by club officials while still holding his clubs. His spokesperson's response was immediate. Any misunderstanding has been cleared up. Phil continues to attend to a family health matter and is uncertain when he will be able to return to professional golf. That statement did not deny the incident. It called it a misunderstanding and moved on to a separate subject, the family health matter, as quickly as possible. Then Tom Clare arrived. Clare is not a general attorney. He is one of the leading defamation lawyers in the country. His specialty is using the threat of legal action to suppress reporting. His first move was to contact Golf Digest before publication and assert that the club's account of events was squarely contradicted by objective video evidence. That is a specific claim. Video evidence, objective, squarely contradicted. Those are precise legal words chosen deliberately to signal that the story would be challenged in court. Golf Digest investigated the claim. The club confirmed there are no security cameras in the area of the clubhouse where the incident allegedly occurred. No footage capturing any direct interaction between Mickelson and the employee exists. The lawyer's central claim, the one designed to stop the story before it ran, was built on evidence that the club itself confirmed does not exist. That is not a minor detail. When a defamation attorney's opening position falls apart before the story even publishes, it tells you something about the state of the defense being mounted. The San Diego County Sheriff's Office opened an inquiry after the story broke publicly. Their statement was careful. They had made attempts to locate evidence of a sexual assault. At the time of the statement, they had not located any, but the case was not closed. They stated they would absolutely investigate further if additional evidence or information emerged. That is not an exoneration. That is an open file with a specific condition attached to it. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ledger, the institution that Mickelson spent years publicly attacking was still standing. The PGA Tour did not collapse under the weight of the LIV war. The merger negotiations stalled, the tour kept going, and the pathway back for Mickelson, should he ever want it, requires a minimum 1-year suspension and a significant financial fine. According to Alan Shipnuck, Mickelson appears disinclined to accept either condition. Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund confirmed in April 2026 that it would end its financial backing of LIV Golf after the current season. More than $5 billion invested since 2022 gone. LIV's CEO Scott O'Neill is seeking new investment to keep the league alive beyond 2026, but no deal has materialized. Leading LIV captains, including Mickelson, were briefed about the funding withdrawal before the wider player group. He knew it was coming. His 5-year exemption from winning the 2021 PGA Championship has now expired. The USGA did not offer him a special invitation to the 2026 US Open at Shinnecock Hills, the venue where he has finished runner-up 3 times across a record 6 runner-up finishes at the national championship over his career. He did not file an entry to attempt to qualify. The one major that has defined the ache of his career started without him in the field. In 2019, Phil Mickelson retweeted a column written by his sister Tina, a PGA professional, about gender bias in the golf industry. She had written about the uncomfortable experience of working in a male-dominated club environment. The smirks, the remarks, the moments that made her question whether she had heard correctly. Phil promoted it publicly. He wrote that he was proud of her. That post is still in his timeline. It will not be coming down. The core instinct that defined Phil Mickelson for 30 years was charm deployed as protection, not charm as a side effect of success. Charm as the primary tool of survival. Every scandal absorbed, every sponsor crisis navigated, every controversy survived. All of it depended on the audience believing the warmth was real, that the man behind the autograph lines and the gallery conversations was genuinely who he appeared to be. The country club incident does not destroy a golf career on its own. What it does is pull at the thread that everything else was hanging on, and right now, with LIV's funding gone, the PGA Tour door locked behind a suspension and a fine, the major exemptions expired, the sheriff's case still open, and a defamation attorney whose central claim collapsed before the story even ran. That thread has never been this exposed. Alan Shipnuck said it plainly. Phil Mickelson is a man without a country. No tour to call home. No major exemptions left beyond the 2 lifetime invitations at Augusta and the PGA Championship. No sponsor infrastructure, no PR machine. Just a lawyer and a spokesperson issuing statements on his behalf while he remains silent. The man who talked to every camera for 30 years has nothing left to say, and the gap between what his lawyer claimed and what the club confirmed is not going away. If you have a read on where this ends, for Mickelson, for LIV, for the broader chaos this has dropped into the PGA Tour's lap, put it in the comments. The conversation down there has been more honest than anything coming out of his camp right now. Subscribe if you want to follow this story as it develops, because based on the sheriff's statement alone, there are more chapters coming.